star so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. Go get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burnin' Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Oh, welcome back, Daylight Burners. Recording this on a Friday evening, so happy Friday. I don't know when I'll put this out, but if you'd like to listen to this live, you got to go to patreon.com/burninDaylight. So anybody listening on Patreon, welcome back. We got Ryan Whitaker out of the great state of Nebraska joining me again. We got a few topics to cover. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I am just constantly just amazed at how ridiculous the world gets. Like
every day.
Every
damn day.
It never stops. And I can remember thinking, like, back in 2019 when I started this thing. It was like August, September, somewhere in there. I remember talking about some of the crazy shit going on that they were, and it seems so innocent now, where they're just like, they were lying about Trump in the media. And I've never been a Trump guy, but I'm just like, it got to the point where I was defending the guy against, just nonsense. Like
against sheer stupidity.
Yeah. And I mean, it got to where they were just nonsense. Like, why are you mad about that? Like, why is this even a problem? Like, what about any of this? And now, I mean, that just seems cute compared to today, where, I mean,
we have passed that by a long shot.
Yeah, that ship has sailed. So to quote one of my favorite bands of all time, one of my favorite songwriters, Evan Felker of Turnpike Troubadours, that bell can't be unrung. And I'm trying to learn that for Elko. I'm not doing a very good job of it so far, but yeah, we've moved on past that now, where we had the most hilarious one of the most hilarious riots of all time happen on January 6, 2021. I will not call it an insurrection because no,
I was going to say we can't. We've just got to call it comedy.
Yeah, because nobody's ever seized power of a government using like a metal people barrier. Like, it's not even a fence, but like a section of riot fencing.
Yeah.
A metal barrier like that. That was the extent, and some bear mace. But that was kind of the extent of the weaponry that they used to supposedly
real dangerous shit. We're talking, Matt.
Bloodthirsty type shit. But then, now we're 4 years past that, essentially. Or we're coming up on 4 years past that, and we've had our first presidential primary. And now we're like, I'm pretty sure, of course, I was pretty sure in 2020 that Trump was going to win, until I started to look back at it and like, well, I mean, it always comes back to the economy. But early numbers say, like, Trump's probably going to run this thing again. Like, he's probably going to get in, is what it, like, conventional knowledge would tell you, which I would say throw that in the trash, because the conventional knowledge is kind of has failed me quite a bit here lately. So I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But again,
so that just throws us into 4 more years of toddlers.
Yeah. But they're also like, are they gonna somehow get him off the ballot? because if that happens, I think we're in for some like legitimate, at least pockets of violence. Because I know I know a lot of Trump people, and they're not. I don't think they're exactly going to take that laying down.
So the last time that happened was Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
So how'd that end? I don't think it went well.
Not really. I mean, yeah, it wasn't great. A lot of people died. Some things were said. Some things happened. Some people kind of got freed. And then yeah, it was not great, but so I don't know how all that's going to turn out, but like and that's just one. I mean, it's a major
that's
aspect.
One tiny spot. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's a pretty major aspect of American life, but that's just one little sliver of it. Then
right.
we've got I will say that some of the lefties were right when they're talking about like the surge in anti-Semitism. If you spend a little bit of time on Twitter, that is one thing about free speech is if you allow everything, you're gonna see some shit that you don't particularly like, and
exactly.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. Not necessarily. I don't agree with. I think there's a lot of shit that while you have the right to say it, you should probably
should keep that one. Yeah.
Like think real hard about it before you say it at the very least. But yeah, there's turns out that there's still a pretty large chunk of people that really don't like the Jews.
That's just fucking wild to me. Like
it is, and then I'm still always trying to figure out like what exactly is, and it always comes back to like money lending, control of the media, control of government because of their legalistic views, and then overall sneakiness, I guess, is what the charges are. And then you have this group of Hasidic Jews that dug a secret tunnel
just
under
tunneling away
streets of New York, and you're like, maybe not do that.
Yeah, probably not helping.
If you're worried about anti-Semitism, a good place to start is not there.
Yeah,
not there.
Not tunneling under a city.
Yeah, yeah. It's some of the weirdest things that like that one still just one of the weirdest stories I've ever come across. And so we had that happen, and then you had messaged me, and this was kind of one of the instigators for this episode. But you had messaged me about the Mormons buying up a bunch of land in Nebraska. And if you remember the Easter Day thing, when Cody Easterday had his whole gambling fiasco, and which, I mean, kind of bravo to him for screwing Tyson out of so much freaking money. I mean, those guys
a little bit, yeah.
I mean, I'm not condoning it, but I'm also pretty impressed by the sheer amount of cattle that he was able to scam them for.
Yeah.
But the Mormon Church ended up buying like the big chunk of the Easter Day holdings that he had to liquidate due to this thing, and yeah, you get to looking into that a little bit, and those old mountain Jews, as my buddy Evan Hafer likes to call the Mormons, they control a lot of shit. They really, it's particularly in the agriculture world. They control a lot of,
and they've been at it for a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after I'm still in the midst of this. I've kind of taken a little hiatus on my Mormon research, but like there's still a lot of that stuff that's pretty fresh in the old memory. And yeah, old brother Brigham kind of knew what he was doing. Like he was there was like a lot of religious communism back in those days, and and the Mormons were probably the best at it. But I mean, it was essentially. I mean, the Mennonites are kind of the same way. from what I understand. I'm not sure. I've never been around the Amish a whole lot, so I don't know much. But the church owns everything, and it's. I mean,
Right.
the Catholics are no different either. It's
They'll tell you they
funny
are.
how much money you can accumulate when you do it in the name of God.
And the things you can get away with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I had this kind of loose theory that I've got kicking around in my head because
Let's hear it. I got one too.
Because all of this research that I've been doing, like I was saying before, I'm probably getting on some lists that I'd rather not be on. But particularly if you follow conspiracies at all, and I just enjoy conspiracies. I don't buy into all of them, but I'll entertain, just about all of them.
I'll hear them
see
out.
both. Yeah, see what's going on. But if you spend any time at all in the conspiracy corners of the internet, you're about 2 clicks away from somebody blaming the Jews for everything. and that's being pretty generous. It's usually like one comment below the video. It's somebody blaming the Jews for it, and you're like, I'm just like, what is the actual beef? And you go, like, of course, everybody knows the Holocaust. We got taught that pretty heavily in school, and I think for good reason. And then you find out, like, there's a lot of people that don't necessarily agree with we were taught, that there was 6 million Jews exterminated by the Nazis, and there's turns out quite a few people that don't exactly believe all that. And then before the Nazis, you had like the pogroms in Eastern Europe and Russia, which sounds pretty awful, the stuff I've read about it. And then I've been kind of reading some hard right historian types, in particular like Russian historians, and they don't agree with that version of the story at all, and they tend to not be so friendly have a friendly worldview towards our Semitic friends, and
right.
I don't know what the hell's going on, but what I've able to narrow it down is like the general things they get blamed for is money lending, control of the money supply, unfair business tactics, all kind of rolled into the economic type of deals stemming from usury, which is money lending.
Now add tunneling. Now we're adding tunneling to that.
Yeah, we're adding tunneling now. But then there's also like control of the media, control of government institutions, and like an overall sneakiness. And I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying that's from what research I've done. That's the overall grievances that I've come to that I've come to notice. And I think, like, in America, we don't really have quite that real anti-Semitic problem. Like, there's pockets of it, but like Europe's a whole different ball game when it comes to the Jews. Like, we never kicked the Jews out of a country. There's a lot of European countries that just kicked them the fuck out.
But we kept trying to kick the Mormons out.
I'd say we have kicked the Mormons out of a couple different places, and they kind of modeled themselves after Judaism too. Like, there's a lot of that. I guess when you come from like an evangelical Christian worldview, which is what I kind of grew up in, is like a very kind of like Pharisees and Sadducees type of mentality with the Catholics, the Jews, the Mormons too, like the Orthodox Church, like very set on rituals and stuff rather than like an individual relationship with Jesus, as as like the evangelicals believe. So it's I don't know, that's what I've always kind of I've noticed about like the churches I grew up in versus like the Catholics, the Mormons, and the Jews and like those three in particular, is like there's so many more like saints and rituals and traditions and stuff that like it's all and it's also like passed down from like a figurehead. I don't know so much about from the Jewish world, but but like from the Orthodox or the Orthodox either. I'm not real well versed onto that, but like the Catholics and the Mormons, where it all essentially comes down. The Mormons comes from the prophet, and the Catholics from the Pope, and it's all very legalistic too. It seems like.
Right.
Well, the Mormons have been. And land ownership was another one. Like tenant farming was a big grievance from the Eastern European pogroms, and I don't know so much in Germany pre World War, pre Nazi era, but that the Jew, there was a lot of like really wealthy landowning Jewish people in Eastern Europe, and then they made made a lot of their money off of rent from tenant farmers, and so that was a big grievance. Well, now like the way the Mormon church was set up, I mean, like the church owned everything, and it was very much kind of like a Soviet system, except it was, instead of an atheistic deal, it was very much
it was in the name of Joseph Smith.
Yeah, it was theocratic as opposed to, I guess the Soviets were too, but the state was God as opposed to, to actually believing in God. You just believed in the state. So, but they've accumulated a ton of wealth, a lot of land, particularly agricultural land, which is smart. Like, you control the food, you control the people.
Right.
There's been a pretty big shift in media programming as of the last 3, 4, 5 years. But like there's been a lot of like Christian based content popping up, and a lot of it out of like Angel Studios, and I think it's like Revelation Media is the other one, but they're both based out of Utah, and I think they're heavily funded by the Mormon Church. And they're putting out good content. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. It's
right.
My kids watch. I mean, they put out like the Tuttle Twins, which is a great kids book series, and now it's a like an animated show. And I like they put out some good stuff, and it's nice because I know if I can put the kids in front of that show and like I'm not
worry about it.
I don't have to worry about them wanting to cut their dick off here in the next couple weeks. Like I don't have to worry about that shit. So it's nice, but so are they starting to like corner in on the media landscape now? Like it's kind of in turmoil where I wonder how much like the big players how much influence they've lost, because I'm starting to think they haven't lost much influence after Iowa. Like Vivek has been on every major podcast you can think of here in the last 6 months, and he didn't even get break at the 8% mark.
Right.
Like
exactly. Yeah.
So you're just like, I don't know, man. And it may be just that Trump just sucks the oxygen out of the room too, but like you those are two pretty big studios that popped up, and they're putting out a lot of content. and it's like, as a capitalistic entrepreneurship type of mindset, I love it, because they found a hole in the market that nobody was serving, and now they're fulfilling that market signal. And but also like how much of it's controlled by the Mormon Church, how long till they redirect the programming to turn everyone Mormon,
Right. The libertarian in me is all for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you take away the religion and look at it, it's like a pretty libertarian thing they've tried to do their entire existence.
Pretty much.
They wanted to be left alone, and kept trying to be left alone.
I know it. I do really kind of respect, because they really, their whole deal was just like, all right, we're moving to Utah. Like, we're going to call it Deseret, and then we're moving there because it's not in the United States. And then they moved there, and then
and then the United States came.
Yeah. So, and the whole time, like they were willing to go to war with the U.S., but they really did try to avoid it at all costs, because they knew that it wasn't gonna turn out in their favor.
I think at that time the U.S. actually declared war on the Mormons, didn't they? I mean, it was actually a declaration of war against the Mormons, correct?
I'd
'Cause
have to look into that.
I
I
think
know.
they marched from Leavenworth to Salt Lake or to the Great Basin.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
that's where
They
that like
marched.
Thatcher family massacre was and all that.
Yeah, because it was after the Mountain Meadows massacre
Right.
that it really all that shit really popped off. And I don't know if there was an actual declaration of war, but like I mean the Mormons were ready for war. I mean like
Right.
the orders were like you fight until it's time to run, and then you burn everything to the ground on the way out. Like
Yeah.
head to the hills and burn everything in front of you.
And that's the part I respect. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
respect that if you're people like us anyway.
Well, and then when they kind of the government kind of declared war on polygamy, then it was I think it was Taylor that succeeded Brigham Young. Like he moved down to Mexico for a while because he wouldn't give up his other wives.
Yeah.
Cohabitation they called it,
Right.
which they just decriminalized that not too long ago in Utah. So like I think polygamy is officially somewhat legal in Utah again.
Oh, okay. On again, off again.
I
Can't
think
keep up.
so. It never really went away. It just kind of died down quite a bit, and then like any good church or organization, they just tried to sweep it
Yeah.
under the rug.
Let's hide that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's but my with all this like swirling civil unrest that we have going on, I'm always wondering like who's the group that gets singled out. And
Right.
you see like you see the Jews getting singled out. I mean, they've been attacked several times, but like this time around it's mostly from the left wingers, and turns out Israel's not it's kind of a real problem for old Uncle Joe. He's not having a good time
Not
with
a
his
good go
base.
there.
But I wonder, like, if you just follow like the path of history and how see how the Jews got pushed out of different countries in Europe, and then you see how the Mormons have kind of I don't know how big the Mormons are into the banks, but I would imagine they own a lot of them. Joseph Smith tried and failed several times to start his own bank.
Right.
So I mean it's pretty well pretty well embedded into the Mormon culture. So I'm ignorant on how big they are in the banking world, but I bet you
I bet they're there.
I bet you where they're concentrated, they they have mucho sway just like they do in everything else. And I wonder if like if the tables turn and say like you see a bunch of like small farmers go under, small ranchers go under, and then do the pitchforks start to come out for the Mormons? I wouldn't suggest it because the Mormons are pretty well armed as well. So
Yeah.
like that's one thing
I think they stay that way.
that's one thing I think they learned pretty early on is you keep them guns. And yeah, so that's not a like if should it ever come to that. Like I'm not saying it. This is just all purely speculation, a theory
Yes.
that I have.
Theoretically.
That's not a group of people I'd want to go up against.
No.
Yeah.
But is that the whole thing of what's going on? Are they just kind of seeing the unrest and the direction of things, and 370,000 acres in Nebraska, prime, I mean, decent farmland, better ranch land. It's out west, it's closer to your direction. But I mean, are they just controlling one more thing? Control what you can control, and they're trying to control it all.
Well, I think so. I mean, it probably makes sense in their overall, agriculture scheme.
And they're not new to ranching by any means.
No, I mean they had a huge hand in building the beef cattle industry in the western U.S. There was the Texas punchers that moved them up to Minnesota or to Montana and whatnot, but the Great Basin was essentially like that whole ranching area was settled by the Mormons. You know, there was that was I mean, they got a big hand in agriculture and have since the very beginning of their migration out there. And they were very communistic back in the day too. So the areas where Brigham Young tried and failed, like it was one of the few things that he failed at, but he was trying to get the government contract for the mail, and so he had his own like mail delivery service that I think it eventually went belly up, but like it was not far from being like where the U.S. Postal Service was run by the Mormons too, so it wasn't that far off. They were, I forget what exactly made it fall through. I think it was just because he didn't ultimately get the, like the exclusive contract, but
right.
I don't know. Those people are like they fought and scratched their way to what they got. Some of those, like I guess they've been like the second wave of Mormon immigrants. They all went with the fucking push cart.
Yeah, the hand carts and I mean, they ran some cows when they were doing that. They ran some cattle that way, but can you imagine going that far with a hand cart? And you're dragging all your stuff and kids.
Right, and you came just straight off the ship from Europe, some sort of peasant out that way, and you get on a ship across the Atlantic, you get on a train to Chicago or St. Louis or wherever, and then you load your shit up on a hand cart and push it across the prairie for another 1,500 miles, and
so they're not.
Wild.
I mean, they're not opposed to going the extra mile, if you will. I mean,
no,
they're going to do what they got to do.
You see some of the country they covered and conquered. You're like, I mean, like that hole in the wall place there in it's like in Arizona, I think they're by like Lake Powell. You see, where they the what they had to do to go over that, and you look at that, I would think I was God's chosen people too. If you conquered that,
you're
bitch,
damn right.
Like ain't nothing stopping me now.
Yeah,
and anybody
and they did it with a hand cart.
Yeah, anybody gonna try to stop me, I'll kill him dead. Fuck you.
Yeah.
God wanted me to live.
Yeah, I think I'd feel that way too after that.
Yeah, so like I say, that's I mean, and that's kind of the same way for the Jews, but I think the Mormons learned early on to be a little better armed than the Jews. The Jews took them a little while to learn that. I don't know if that was through circumstance or what, but like those Eastern European and German Jews, like they were all disarmed and they couldn't really do much. But the Mormons fought back. They got kicked out, but they took some scalps on the way.
I don't think there's going to be a disarming of them.
Yeah, I'd say that's you better, if you're gonna take a run at the Mormon population, you better come prepared, because they're packing heat.
I mean, and they're kind of prepared for anything. Isn't that one of their things? Don't they always have like a year supply on hand of everything?
It was one of the like, it's in their doctrine,
Right.
Yeah, it's part of their faith, and like that's another thing I really respect about them. They're very self-reliant.
Yeah, they don't really need much else. I mean,
no.
And that's where the libertarian in me again is like, dang, like let them go to the hills and leave them alone.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody here in Nebraska is all worked up right now because they've got 370,000 acres, and worth more than like Warren Buffett right now here. So
yeah, I mean, like if push comes to shove, I'll become a Jack Mormon just so I don't, so I can still live, live peacefully. I don't mind,
right.
I don't, that nobody knows what's in my heart. I'll say it for public purposes if I have to, because
exactly.
if it's better than the alternative, but I'd way rather just take to the hills. Which,
I'd rather do my own thing.
Yeah, exactly. But if it came down to like these lefty weirdos in control versus the Mormons, I'll take the Mormons. You know, I'll roll my dice with the Mormons.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm jumping on board with Joseph Smith here, but I mean, everybody's worked up here because they're buying the land. Well, anybody can buy the land. It just happened to be them, you know?
Well, it was kind of the same thing like the Easter Day thing where the two major bidders was the Mormon Church and some company owned by Bill Gates. And push comes to shove, I'd rather the Mormons have it. At least
I'd rather the Mormons have it.
They know how to make some productive use of land. I mean, they've proven that over the years. So,
and they took all the shit land that no one else would, have the fortitude to continue on.
Yeah, no shit. They really should have just put the Mormons in charge of all the Indian reservations, because the Indians had all the shit land too that they had a hard time farming. They'd if they'd let the Mormons just run all the Indian reservations, they might be pretty profitable nowadays too. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess those casinos make a lot of money too, though. For certain people, I don't know how all that works. I need to talk with some more of the people that are in the know on the res. That's a whole other situation that most of America just kind of turns a blind eye to.
We can get Jeremiah on here again.
I know he's good. I need to get a hold of Victoria Jackson. I know I'm supposed to get her on the show, and I'll check with her when I go to Elko and see if we can't sit down and have a conversation. But it's it's a whole other part of American life that gets kind of just pushed to the side. Nobody really pays attention to because there's not enough of them to really cause a stink. Every now and then you get like the Standing Rock deal where I know a lot of the conservatives were pissed off about it, but I don't know. It sounds like the natives had a real grievance there. I mean,
right.
It's we've been fucking them over on treaties since day one too. So it's
I mean, I don't think there was ever an honest one. So
I don't think so. And didn't the Supreme Court rule that like most of Oklahoma is back to kind of Indian territory? And
I'm not sure on that. I mean, I know the Flower Moon deal brought a lot more light back to it, which it sucks that it takes something like that to bring light to something. But it's where this country is at. Yeah,
well, because like all of Oklahoma was, I mean, it was just called Indian territory. It wasn't called Oklahoma. And I don't. I said the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know shit. Like there's like that's.
But it all circles around. It all circles around to don't trust the government.
Like a lot of the issues that we have, particularly in the Western U.S., all stem from government ownership of the land. Like Texas does not have the BLM versus the rancher versus the Bureau of Land Management fight like Colorado or Arizona or even New Mexico right next door.
Right.
They don't have that because it's all privately owned. And and I'm very loath to give Texans too much credit for anything because they'll give themselves plenty of credit.
They'll take it and run.
Yeah, they do it plenty on their own, but like that, the whole private ownership thing is like it's pretty well. I mean, they've got their own issues, but when it comes to like the ranching and the grazing aspect of things, they don't have that issue that Colorado and
and it confuses them.
Yeah,
and nothing pisses a Texan off more than getting confused.
And it don't take much. Don't take much. It's so was this land in Nebraska, was it all like one big estate or was it a parcels here and there, or how
no, they
work out?
They were piecing them together, but it was too, I mean, it's Garden County and one more that direction. So, it's out there down near Colorado, Wyoming.
Okay.
But I mean, it's ranch country, and I'm sure a lot of it's pivoted or something,
Yeah.
But I mean, they just keep buying it, and they're buying every piece they can. And then Nebraska, farmers unions all up in arms about it, that now that's land that Nebraskans can't own. And it is, but I mean, I don't know. It's better than Bill Gates owning it, and the way land prices are going, I don't know. I think it's the better end there.
Yeah, that's one thing, is that land's going to continue to go up. I think, I mean, particularly productive land, because there's just less and less of it available. They put so many fucking houses on good productive land that
right.
So I mean, I don't know. It's like there's always that issue, like where the church has all this land, but they don't pay any taxes, and I say fuck it, taxation's theft. So
yeah,
but also I don't like any one entity owning too much stuff, because then shit goes afoul. And
yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, it says they bought 370,000 total acres zoned to agriculture in Nebraska, and soon could become Nebraska's largest landowner, passing Ted Turner. So, I don't give a fuck about Ted Turner.
Ted Turner, he's been big in getting the buffalo population back up, and
right.
I'm not a fan of Ted Turner, but I guess I'm also like, I don't know. I don't have the money to buy it, so what can I? He bought it fair and square.
Right.
It's kind of one of those things you can call somebody an asshole and have absolutely no recourse against him for it. He's like, well, fuck, that guy's an asshole.
Yeah. I know a guy that paid to go shoot a buffalo out there, though. I don't know if it was Ted's, but yeah. They said one guy was feeding a donkey out one side of the pickup and the other guy shot out the other. It was one of them paid deals,
That's funny. That donkey was just like, oh, I'm going to have to go drag this prick back in. Freaking donkeys are such funny creatures.
They are. My wife keeps wanting another one. She had one, but it was like 35 and died.
I keep thinking I want one, and then I remember how much hay costs, so I don't want one that bad.
Yeah. I don't have a choice with the wife, so.
They don't eat much, but it's enough. It's enough that you notice it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They can survive on the far shittier hay, though.
That's true.
And do pretty well.
We had a farrier back when I was in Kansas. He was talking about how his wife was like, him and his old man were known for just cooking and eating anything. His dad was a pretty good cook, I suppose. I never had any of his food, but I guess he catered a wedding one time and served the whole wedding party smoked prairie dog. And
okay,
they said it was good. I don't know. Like I said, this is what I heard. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But they had a kind of a reputation for eating a lot of horse and just kind of whatever. And he was telling a story about how his wife said, "Well, you ain't ever gonna catch me eating a horse," and he said, "Bitch, you've been eating horse steak for the last 3 weeks. You didn't even know it." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Hell yeah. Why the hell would I buy beef when a fat donkey only costs $50?
That's a Missouri moose is what they call that, right?
Missouri moose. That's funny. Fucking Missouri. That's another one of those weird kind of weird states that I don't suggest anybody tangle with. Like, people in Missouri are a little different.
Missouri and Arkansas, I think they'd team together there.
Missouri, Arkansas, and then you got the Appalachia region, West Virginia in particular, but like Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, all that area, like they're that's another, like you stay on the main roads. Don't
venture off.
Yeah, don't go on a Sunday cruise on some back roads. You know, you never know what you're gonna find out there.
They don't like
Mostly
it when you roll
meth.
up on their meth house.
Yeah, it used to be moonshine. Now it's just meth. You ever mess with any of that shit?
The moonshine?
No, the meth or
No,
any of
fuck
those hard drugs. I've never done
no,
any of that.
fuck no.
I've
Mm-mm.
had a rail or two of coke, and there's literally only a couple different times that I did that, but it was enough to where like I'm gonna not do any more. This doesn't
No.
lead anywhere good.
I'm
And
gonna stay far away from that.
I will say that I forget what the name of that documentary was, but it was an HBO documentary that they did on meth back when I was like middle school or yeah, it had been like junior high, like late elementary, junior high school. And I that one worked because I had never had any desire to touch
No,
methamphetamine after watching that shit.
zero. Now the green,
And
on the other hand,
yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I
yeah,
think I I'm a big fan of that stuff. And it's perfectly legal here, and I can consume it as I please, and
there you go.
it's nice. It's nice.
But yeah, that hard shit, I'll stay far away from. Like you
Yeah, I've
said,
never.
that doesn't lead
I,
down a good road.
no, I can't really attribute that to like being raised in the Bible Belt because I know plenty of people raised in the same area that I do that love them some meth. So I don't know what for whatever reason like I just that one documentary and I just after you hear how all that shit's made I'm just like anything that smells like cat piss
Yeah.
can't be good to put in your body. So I'm gonna stay away from it. And
God damn, if I get hurt or something, I don't even like the pain pills. Like, oh,
that's kind of a good thing. There's not much good about having hypertension, but they don't give you like the hard opiates because it fucks with your blood pressure, and so you just have to like I forget what the one pain pill they did give me, but it was you might as well just take Tylenol. It doesn't
yeah.
because it was essentially the same. But I never got any oxys or any of that shit, which is probably a good thing. I've got a little bit of an addictive personality, so I'm kind of glad I
Yeah, I won't even
didn't.
take Tylenol for a headache or something. A little CBD takes care of that. But
CBD and water, just
yeah,
like
exactly.
that's one thing. Probably the most important thing I learned on that 75 hard thing is just how much you need water. Like just
Yeah,
like that once you start getting a gallon of water a day, you're just like, I feel so much better. And then you
right.
start to where you crave water, and that's like it's good. Your
Yeah,
body
it's a
needs
good
that
thing.
shit. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's the um back in college. My go to hangover cure was just like greasy breakfast, coffee, and like a Gatorade or something. Nowadays, it's water and go sweat, like go
Yeah,
run a mile or something or just get some sweat moving and drink a bunch of water and that'll help you.
I do the water and coffee, but I will chug like
Yeah.
my 32-ounce Yeti of water. If I'm a little hungover, I will chug that first thing in the morning.
Oh yeah, it's good. Like that's a good move. I don't know, it's amazing how little water I drank until I started making myself drink a
Yeah,
gallon
you
a
don't
day. It's
realize
like
it.
yeah, and you're just like, holy shit, I was dehydrated. Yeah, you don't feel it until you realize what hydrated feels like, and then you're like, oh, I felt like shit for a long time.
Yeah. Speaking of water, not to jump off subject, but we got some water issues here. I know you're no stranger to those,
Yeah,
but
how's it looking in Nebraska?
well, the main water issue over on my side is the nitrates in the water, and they're saying
Mm,
it's coming from anhydrous and
well,
fertilizer and this and that. Well, it probably is, but but it is. But our water sucks, and I mean we're in sand, but it don't filter out that much. I mean it don't
mm,
filter all the way down, and as high as the water table is here, I mean you don't got to go very far. And
Yeah. So whereabouts are you?
Like 45 minutes northwest of Omaha.
Okay, yeah. So you're in that's farm country back there.
Yeah, it's farmer country, yeah, and it's farmer cattle and feedlots. I mean, we're big feedlot country. So
Yeah, but they grow a lot of corn around there too.
yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, that's the main crop, corn and beans. That's all there is, and it's most of them are set in their ways from the 70s, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you do have your guys that are trying to stay up on things, but it's put the anhydrous in and fertilize and get what we can. So
Yeah, I guess I didn't know about the spraying Roundup on the wheat to dry it out. Like I hadn't heard about that till I heard RFK Jr. talk about it, and then I guess
yeah,
that's a pretty common practice in like eastern Kansas and Nebraska. They
I'd
don't.
read a little about it before he mentioned it, but yeah, I didn't know it was like that common. And it seems like it's far more common. I mean, there's not a lot of wheat around here, but it does seem like that's a pretty big thing. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't know it was. I didn't know that. I'd never heard of that before. I knew that everybody used Roundup for fucking everything, and
yeah,
like no doubt it's a good herbicide, but it turns out probably gives you cancer.
there is a
So,
thing as overuse.
it's kind of like Draxon there for a while. Like, it's still kind of that way. We're just like, I don't know, give them a shot of Draxon.
Give them Draxon. Yeah, Draxon cures everything.
And it's like, well, maybe it's it's a good drug for sure, but also it knocks the fuck out of them. So if they don't need it, it's probably better they don't. You don't give it to them because
yeah.
I mean, when they get those sweats around like day 5, they look like shit.
I'll still give Draxon over Mycotil.
Depends on the cattle. Those dairy heifers really respond well to Mycotil. I've found
That shit still scares me.
I'm
afraid of it.
It's a little. It's. I would say it's. I'm not going to say it's not justified. I think it's a little overblown, but, yeah, I know there's a lot of people that don't use it. I've never owned the cattle, so I never really cared. It's just like whatever your,
right.
whatever your protocol is, I guess that's what we're given. But there's only been a handful that I've doctored outside of the chute with Mycotil. Most of the time, I try to stay away from it unless unless I got them in the chute.
Right. Nice and controlled.
Right. Exactly. Now, but even that, like the new Mycotil bottles have this. I mean, they always had the shroud on them, but they used to that you could just unscrew the bottom and take the bottle out of the shroud. But now you can't do that, and it's got this little thing that once you got to push down and twist it, and that punctures it, and then you got to hook it. It's got a quick connect for the specially made Mycotil syringe. That doesn't expose the needle, and like, well, we don't use those syringes unless we're mass treating, and so now we gotta have to cut the shroud off to get the bottle out, and it's so stupid.
Damn safety feature.
I know it's all fucking gay. All gay is AIDS. I've got to take a leak real bad, so we'll take a break here and we'll come back. So
okay,
bear with us, everybody. All right, we're back at it. So what else is new in your world over there, Justin?
Ryan, sorry.
Ryan, yeah, your email said Justin. Yeah. Ryan. Yeah, like how's the temperament in Nebraska? I know I always like to feel like I feel like I'm going crazy half the time. When it's just me on my horse listening to the news and shit. Like, it seems like the whole world's falling apart, and then like you actually look around and like people are just getting along, just doing their thing.
I mean, so like this week, we had that shitstorm weather, And I mean, we're close enough to Omaha that we hear all of Omaha's shit, but I avoid that place like the plague. And I mean, come summertime, I try to stay in the Sandhills as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really where I'd like to be, but we got a kind of decent place here and set up good and close to the wife's family. So, you know, it has its perks, but damn, I like the Sandhills better.
Yeah, I've only been out in the Sandhills the one time, but it's pretty country. It seems like there's some pretty good cowhands that come out of the Sandhills.
Some damn good ones. But back to what we were saying. I mean, we had all that weather, and you know, I mean, we've had shitty week with shit being gelled up. You know, been negative 20s, and you know the problems that come with 50-mile-an-hour winds and a foot of snow. And I mean, everybody's just out helping everybody, you know. I mean, I was moving snow today to get my buddy's horse trailers out. And then, you know, I mean, everybody's doing that. It's not just me doing that. But so if you just focus on that, you don't pay as much attention to all the bullshit, you know?
See, that's what always amazes me is like they'll talk about, you know, like the Iowa caucuses, you know, like record low turnout. I'm like, well, did you see the weather? Like, there's that, and then
no shit.
They'll highlight, you know, like in the southeast where people don't know how to drive in the snow. They don't even have any shame in admitting it. They just know that they don't know how to drive in the snow.
Right.
And they'll highlight that, but then they'll just like gloss over the fact where like Boston and Buffalo and all these northern cities that are used to weather, like they just get along as normal. Yeah. You know, they just keep chugging along. You know, the Bills Mafia is like, fuck yeah, we'll shovel our seats out. We're gonna go watch the Bills play.
Yeah, we're gonna break some fucking tables and watch some football.
They're the most northern rednecks I've ever seen. Like they're just like if the entire state of Kentucky migrated north, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I mean, yeah, I mean, all of that shit, we've just been fucking living. I mean, just fucking don't be a shitbag and live your life. You know, back to the whole religion and Mormon thing, like if you need a book to tell you to be a good person, well, you're probably a shitty person in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like if my fucking neighbor needs something, I'm gonna try to help them.
Yeah, it's there's one thing about rural America is people are just overall neighborly because you kind of have to be. Because I mean, like you stop and help somebody because you'd hope they'd do the same for you. And,
right.
And it's just that's what you do.
If you'd looked at do y'all have the 511 app deal out there, like to tell you if roads are open and closed and shit?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's an app or whatever, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, like, if you'd have looked at that back, you know, after this storm first hit, that we're on the tail end of now, like half of our fucking state was closed. I mean, like literally every fucking road was just closed.
Yeah.
And, you know, each county, each township might have a maintainer, you know, and, you know, they're few and far between. So, I mean, half of these roads were opened up by farmers or, you know, feed yard guys, or the western side of the state didn't get it as bad. But yeah, I mean, ranch guys opening shit up. I mean, everybody came together to get out of the fucking storm. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know how many times South Dakota and Nebraska and you know North Dakota too, but they've been just blasted by winter storm after winter storm after winter storm for like it seems like if it's not every year, it's every other year.
Right.
There's just a huge storm that just gets completely glossed over by most of the country. You only see it on Facebook, and it's just because you have buddies sharing it.
Yeah.
But I don't see that changing anytime soon either. I mean,
yesterday everyone freaked out because you know those iPhone alerts that you'll get, or like the alerts, the
Amber
emergency alerts or whatever. So they put one out yesterday that a snow squall was coming through, and that was the alert, snow squall. So everybody was freaking out on Facebook and all the, you know, social medias. What the fuck is a snow squall and all this? And basically it's, you know, 50-mile-an-hour winds with snow. So, but yeah, no one had ever seen that. And It
Do
was
you
kind of
remember when
comical.
they sent out the alert on Hawaii, or maybe it was Guam? Was it Guam? It might have been both, Hawaii and Guam, that they were about to be nuked by North Korea.
Yeah, I do.
I was like, oh
Can
man,
you imagine getting that one?
you're just like, holy fuck, really? What did I ever do, God?
Yeah,
Uh,
I can't
like,
imagine getting that one. You know,
if I'm getting nuked, I don't want to know about it.
right?
Or I want
And
to
I
I
don't
want to
want to
know
know what I
just
would
long
have
enough
done.
ahead so I can spread my asshole to the nuke.
I don't want to
Just
know what I would have done if I'd known I was getting nuked, or
yeah,
thought I was. In that case,
I just want to spread my cheeks, and hopefully the pilot that dropped it got to see my winking asshole before it got incinerated, you know?
yeah, exactly.
That'd be the only advance warning I'd want to know, just long enough so I could drop trow and spread my cheeks to the sky. That'd be
Yeah,
the only warning I'd need. The rest of it, I'd get too nervous, and yeah, I don't want to know. I don't
yeah.
want to
No,
know.
I don't.
That would have scared the fuck out of me, though. Like,
Right?
and you did, like, talk about helpless. You're like, oh fuck, what now?
Yeah.
What now? Oh yeah, I think somebody actually got fired for that one. I'm not for sure, but
I would hope
you would. It's the government, though. Who knows?
they got a raise and new job title.
But we drone bombed an aid worker and his family as we were leaving Afghanistan, and nobody got fired for that.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I'm not sure. I guess you cannot have butt sex in a Senate hearing room without getting fired. That they will fire you for that.
I
Turns out.
mean,
But
they
only if you
will.
post it on Instagram, I guess.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the only way they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because we know there's a
Like,
lot of butt sex going on.
well, I mean, that's all that happens is just butt sex on the American public.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncalled for, unwarranted, unasked for, non-consensual butt sex on the American public.
Yeah. Day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, if you post it on Instagram and it gets out and goes viral, you will get fired for that.
They will fire you then, just because of the optics,
Turns out the dude had been warned before to, hey, tone down the gay shit on your social medias. Like,
Lindsay's getting mad.
Apparently, he was a little aggressive on the gayness. The hilarious part about that was he when he posted it to, like, I guess it was like a private Instagram group, which his buddies suck because
yeah, that's shitty.
You
God damn it, Matt! If I send you something, you're not sharing it.
Oops. No, I didn't mean to send that to my story. But yeah, apparently he was like in this room. Sonia Sotomayor was had her first confirmation hearing. Something else happened, and this guy took a big old German sausage. Huh.
And now that got out. Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm appalled, but also like so entertained.
But also impressed.
It's like the Hank Hill in me just feels like I should be appalled, and I am, but also I can't stop laughing about it.
No, exactly.
I shouldn't laugh, and I know that. I know I shouldn't laugh, but
I'm going to.
I'm going to. I can't.
I'm fucking going to.
Yeah, it's crazy. Those feedlots over there, are you guys getting a lot of those Holstein Angus cross?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's how they vertically integrate the beef industry is through the dairymen.
I think you're right. I mean, and look at how many of them there were. I don't know go 5 years ago, and then look at how many there are now.
Yeah, it was about So I've been at this place. It'll be 7 years in like April, I think, April and May, somewhere in there. Into April, I think. And we got our first set of crossbreds. I'd been here for like a year maybe, and we haven't had a ton of them, but we usually get some every year. And but yeah, like all like the eastern Kansas lots and or western Kansas and eastern Colorado, they're there for a while. They were full of Holstein steers, and now they're full of those crossbreds.
They still act like a
And
fucking Holstein, though.
oh yeah, yeah, they may be worse, honestly.
They might be.
They might be worse. But like coming from the dairyman and the packer side of things, and like the big feedlot, fuck, they make a lot of sense.
Yeah, they do. And
they make a lot of sense. But
you
also
get your
like,
uniformity there. I mean, if anything,
you damn sure get your uniformity, and yeah, but also, and then you get like you don't have to deal with your crotchety ass rancher. You deal with the dairyman who's dealing in a subsidized industry, so he's
right.
very, he's well accustomed to like the economies of scale and and being able to shift his entire operation. Well, and it makes sense for them. They're getting real value on those which were essentially useless cattle, the Holstein steer.
But for somebody that wants to chase something and jerk it the fuck down, wait, I didn't say that.
The hell of it is like you don't really. Like, you're better off just letting them come to you and then practicing your backhand shots, because running them down, like, it's kind of tough. Like they're hard to line out because they don't really run from you.
Because they don't run.
You're better off running away from them and then wheeling at the last minute and then trying to rope something. There's some goofy suckers. We just got a couple loads of them in today, and a winter of those makes you really enjoy Mexican cattle. Those Mexicans, and they're they've been in quarantine long enough to where they're pretty manageable, but they move. They'll step on out and move.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
they don't just turn around and look at you.
I tell you, those Mexican cattle, the quality has improved enormously over the past like 5-6 years. I mean, the quality of those cattle are pretty, like they'll rival most of your southeastern cattle.
Yeah.
And those southeastern guys may not like to hear that, but it's kind of true.
Right.
The Mexican cattle are pretty. They're getting pretty decent.
But goddamn, them southeastern cattle come up here. You get them in like October, and then fucking November, December hits, and they're all wanting to die.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those Bramers all of a sudden ain't all that tough. We didn't have a ton of eared cattle in the winter when I was there in Kansas. They did a pretty decent job of not receiving a ton of, just in general we didn't get a ton of really real Bramer cattle. Like we'd get some out of South Texas and that like tiger stripe, silver humpback Bramers, but not a ton. A lot of like crossbred cattle you'd get, but they were far enough north that they got mostly northern type cattle, so they were they typically send them to all the Texas yards, all the eared cattle, and in particular, I don't know if it's still the case, but there for a while, like the state of Kansas didn't kill any Mexican cattle, so most of the Kansas yards just didn't feed them either.
Yeah.
Does Nebraska kill Mexican cattle?
I'm pretty sure so.
Nebraska killed just about anything, won't they?
Well, yeah, except a horse. They tried to get that passed, but
that, I wish that would go through. Not that it's going to be a huge boom to the industry, but it would just, Boy, we'd get rid of a lot of dinks that just
Get
need
rid
to
of a lot of
rid
shitters, you know?
Yeah, and I've never had any horse meat. I'm not opposed to it. I just never have ate any of it.
Right.
But if somebody wants to eat it, more power to them. And I just
There's
you gotta stop treating a horse like a pet. It's not a pet.
There's a kill pen. It's down in North Kansas, not too far from here, and they're always posting their shit, and you see the people commenting on there, and you're like, fuck, you just know where it's going. And actually, there's a girl down the road that's always getting something from there, and then then she's posting on Facebook a week later, looking for somebody to put 30 days on this horse, and it came from the fucking kill pen, and you're like, it was at the kill pen for a reason,
right? And then those rescues run out of money, and then all their rescue horses are starving to death, and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
They could have been dead already. They could have already been dead, you know?
Rather than being fucking miserable, they could have been.
Yeah, well, and then they were at least productive that way. Whether it's dog food or, a horse steak on some Frenchman's plate, doesn't matter. There's some productive value of it that adds to the whole circle of life, where these other, like, we went to Reno last week, and, going through Washoe Valley, just those feral horses are everywhere.
Yeah.
Just everywhere. And you're like, and they're doing fine right now because we had a lot of moisture this past year. And so there was actually feed out there for them, but not as much feed as there should be because they're eating all the sons of bitches. But like, if you'd have seen them last summer, holy shit, man. They're just, it's like the last of the Apaches after we smoked them all out. They're just starving to death.
And that's a weird deal, the wild horse deal. Because, if you view them like elk or something, I see those people's side a little bit, but goddamn, they just eat so fucking much and
you can't
cover
manage
so
them.
much ground. Yeah, you can't manage them.
They used to like take care of them pretty well. Like a lot of those ranches, they would just they'd round them up and cull the herd and then throw out a new stud with the mare band.
Right.
And they'd do that like every 5-10 years or whatever. Or you had those Mustang, like some of those old stories on Mustangers was fucking crazy, round up with airplanes and stuff. But yeah, like the horse population significantly increased after the economy crashed in 2008. Like, a lot of those wild horses are just domestic horses that got dropped off because they couldn't afford to feed them anymore, and they didn't have the stones to put them down.
Right. I saw a post from, I think it was somewhere in Idaho the other day, of a shitload of them just walking down the street, in some suburb that got put in the middle of what would be cow country,
My wife was more ruthless than I was because there was some lady stopped on the side of the road taking pictures, and my wife like rolls the window. Oh, are they precious? Aren't they just fucking precious?
I like it.
Yeah, she's a savage. She usually doesn't kind of go off like that, but boy, those wild horses, because like that whole area is like, she used to ride her horse around there all the time, and she's like, you never saw any of those wild horses. Like there was a little band that was over by Virginia City in that range, and then there was like a little band over by Fernley, but like they're everywhere. They're just fucking everywhere. And
I want to hear
that. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I want to hear some Mustanger stories, like some people that actually knew something about that and was around during that time. Because that guy you were talking to the other day, that TC out of Saratoga, I spent a little time out there. That's cool country for one, but I bet there's some fucking stories to come out of there too, though.
I know. That guy he was talking about, that Chris Williams, I know him. He's he's not joking. That dude is a hand. I got to see him work for several days, and him and his brother both, and they're just there's quiet, smooth, just handy
Yeah.
fellas. That was one of the big regrets of that trip because I went up with my boss, and so I didn't, we drove up in a pickup. We didn't haul a horse or anything, and I would have
Yeah.
really liked to gather that country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there afoot. I was doing gunsel work, but I did
Right.
get to see my boss. He just stuck to the chest of this big Charlet heifer for about 3 strides as she proceeded to run right over the fucking top of him, and it was pretty glorious. He had kind of pissed me off at I really like that. I still he's the only guy to ever fire me, and so that sticks in my craw a little bit. But I do respect the guy a lot. I really, there except at the end, I got along with the guy a lot, really well, and I respected him. But he had just, it just typical working cattle type days. He had pissed me the fuck off, and
Yeah.
not listening to me, and to see him just get absolutely just chili womped was so satisfying. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I ran over there with my hand out to help him up, but I was grinning from ear to ear and just like, that was nice.
I'm sure my wife's felt that way about me many days.
Anytime I feel my ears getting hot, I figure somebody else is really enjoying this.
Yeah, that Saratoga country though, that was like the first real West country I'd seen.
Yeah, it's pretty open. Not much out there, but there's a lot.
I grew up like dreaming of that country, just wanting to be that West. And then we went there for a rodeo. We got there at like 2 a.m. and parked the camper, went to sleep.
The wind wasn't blowing, was it?
Oh yeah. But woke up the next morning and I opened the camper door, and I was like, fuck, this is it. Like, this is West. Like, we're West now.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's it's pretty big country through there. But then that's only considering if you haven't been to Nevada, and
right.
Boy, that's some big country out. And I still I've drove through a lot of it, but I just haven't spent a ton of time horseback in like the big country, and I'd like to. But I've seen some of it between my horse's ears, but like most of it's been behind the wheel of a pickup.
Yeah. I want to get to Elko in the next few years. I need to make that happen.
I like Elko a lot. That the Cowboy Poetry Gathering's pretty neat.
Right, even that's what I want to come for.
Even all the gunsel shit that they do, it's still pretty cool. Like it's quite the production. But I don't know. Me and my wife went that one year and really, really enjoyed it. And I haven't been able to enjoy the whole thing really like that since. But I've always been doing the show,
working and shit. Yeah.
So but I really enjoy it. And then we do our show and then go over to the Star and watch Outside Circle and I guess Coulter Wall's playing this year, so that'd be.
I saw that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And,
it's like at Miles City, it's probably kind of the same for the buck and horse sale.
I think probably so. I haven't been up there yet. That's also on my bucket. Like Tom Horn Days is on my bucket list.
Yeah, Tom Horn Days.
Miles City, the Brannaman Pro-Am. I want to go to that deal too. Those, I really have got such an appreciation for the vaquero style roping nowadays, because it's just it's so cool when you see those guys that can actually like really, really rope with a riata.
Yeah,
it's
smooth and it looks
something
pretty.
Else. Yeah, and like there's. I still prefer mostly the cow puncher style stuff. Like I appreciate the spade bit. I'm not a spade bit guy yet. Like maybe I'll get there one of those days. But I appreciate it. But I like the grazing bits. I like the You know, I like the cowpuncher style saddles.
Yeah.
I love the long rope and the slick horn. I that's one thing that's really stuck with me. I really enjoyed dallying on a slick horn.
I've been on the fence for a while on getting a Wade. I don't know. The guy that
Wades are nice, but it's all just what you're used to. I've considered getting one too. I had one for a while and I liked it. I don't know. I just something about a set of swells in front of me that I like.
Yeah. I like swells, especially on young horses and shitters, which is mostly what I ride. So
it's funny is I've rode some rank ass shit on a Wade with and without squaw tits, and I got along just fine. You know, like I some of the nastier horses that I ever rode was on a Wade with no squaw tits, and I covered just fine. It's just you know, you learn how to ride it, but I don't know. There's just something kind of comfortable about the not comfortable, but comforting having a set of swells in front of you because they're typically not comfortable.
The guy I worked for, which hell, you might know it. I mean, he went to CU and he was out in Colorado for a while, but he'd be about your age. But he rode a Wade, and I mean, I always rode like a calf rope and saddle, and still do. And he rode a Wade, and I mean, he was kind of the same way. He was sticky, but he said, you know, it kind of you get used to it, and with or without swells, he could, or with bucking rolls, he could still just stick to them. Yeah, but he rode pretty nice horses too.
I forget what Hartman called. I think he called it riding the cannel, but you gotta. Yeah, rather than like getting your legs sucked up under the swells, you push yourself back up against the cannel, and you
gotcha.
And it's kind of a
it makes sense.
It's and it's been a long time since I rode a Wade, and I ain't much of a bronc stomper, anyways. I get by one long enough to get them circling. Usually, that was
I get by when I got to.
Yeah, I can hang on typically long enough to get them circling. So that and then get them talked out of her, at least enough to where I can break their stride enough to get back in the middle and get by. But I'm not one to just let them have their head and go at it very often.
Right.
I got to be pretty confident to do that, and I'm usually not.
Same.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's kind of like everything. The more you learn about it, the more you realize like it doesn't matter what it is. There's something I can appreciate about stuff that I don't know. And when I got opened up to the buckaroo side of things, I'm like, well, then you look at the country that they're dealing with, and you're like, this makes a lot of sense. And you see, I got to do this a little bit in Western Colorado, and we had some in Eastern Colorado, but it wasn't near the it wasn't near as rough, like up and down, you know, trailing them off a mountain. And you're like, well, fuck yeah, I don't want to be tied on here, you know.
No.
I want to be able to slide some rope here, and if need be, just throw my
cut bait and get the fuck out so I don't kill myself and the horse.
But then you go down to Texas and you see that brush country, and you only got one coil in your hand because that's all you need. Because and once you get her caught, you need both hands to steer through the damn mesquite. You don't have time to worry about dallying, and some of the smoothest cattle handling I've seen is from guys tied hard. You know, like there's a video I reposted here a while back of Boots dragging calves, and that's just as smooth as butter. You know, just there's no jerk at all, and you just right to the fire, and you see guys with a big stop on their horse, but you don't really hardly see the rope come tight either. You know, they know how to work the slack, and it's just, you know, being handy. A hand recognizes a hand.
I mean, my thought on that the whole deal is the guys that argue there's no place for tying off, and the guys that argue there's no place for dallying, blah blah blah, long rope, slick.
They haven't been somewhere where they've needed.
They haven't been to the other place. I mean,
yeah, that's exactly right, and I has got a lot more noticeable, like the overlap of styles with the advent of social media, but
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if you go back and read The Last Buckaroo by Mackie Hedges, and he's talking about the different styles, and this was back in like the outlaw days of Nevada ranching,
Yeah.
when like Claude Dallas was was running those in those big outfits, trying
Controversial
to
character.
he was draft dodging, when he went out to Buckaroo.
Right.
And but like even in those books and Mackie, when I had him on the show, he was talking about like the different styles of stuff, and he even admitted, when he was up in Montana, they had a crew that liked to flat ass him and drag him, heel and drag, versus the Nevada and California, Idaho crew that wanted to head and heel everything. And
Head
he
and
said,
heel
boy,
and
we had a
stretch
lot
out.
of fun with ours, but they drug double the calves that we did,
Right.
just by heel and dragging them, and so even he can recognize like, oh, there's a time and place for all of it. And it just depends on what you're doing, and
Yeah.
I don't know, like I can respect and I love the long rope and the slick horn, but I'm pretty loath to get away from my swells too.
Yeah.
I like a set of swells. I just,
Right.
it's not even that I need them, because like I know I can ride some stuff without them. I like them. I don't know. It's
It's
just
my
what I
security
grew up.
blanket.
It's what I grew up with. It's what I know. It's what I
Yeah.
like. And I don't know. I'm
I've got
not.
a bear trap that you want some swells. You can throw
Yeah.
you can throw up into those and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. You better not really like to stand up when you rope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's funny, like, because you'll get guys arguing about different brands of pickups or whatever, and I am a free agent when it comes to a pickup. Like
Yeah, I don't
I'm
give
in
a
the
shit.
Matt Wilson camp. He's got this old song called Hick Billy, and he says my favorite truck's when it starts, and
Right.
that's kind of how I am. Like I'm truly a free agent when it comes to vehicles. I just like whatever works. I've had
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've had good and bad of all of them, and I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certain, like I love a floating spade. I love a dog bone bit.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate the spade. I appreciate like the Mona Lisa style, and even just like a straight curb bit, like a real stiff curb. I appreciate those too, but I like a broken mouthpiece. I work in a feedlot. It works really good for me.
Exactly. Well, shit. I'm right now. I'm riding a calf saddle with a fucking bozal, on the
Mm,
horse. So little mix
yeah,
and match.
and I really like the feel of a good McCarty. But I like split reins, and most of it becomes I work in a feedlot, so I
Yeah.
don't want a loop rein. I just that
Right.
it's asking for something to get broke or a wreck to happen or both.
Yeah.
And so I like split reins, and I keep threatening to get a pair of 8-foot hair reins made, split reins, and I just haven't done it yet. But one of these days
Yeah.
I'm going to. But that means I'm gonna have to get a different horse that I need to use them on, and
Yeah.
I'd rather have.
I'm
I
just
mean,
a fucking
the
mutt.
reins are a lot cheaper. Even
Yeah.
even the expensive reins are cheaper than a horse. So
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just a mutt when it comes to style. I don't give a fuck. Whatever works.
well, yeah, and then I don't know. Like I said, I work in a feedlot too, so you don't typically have anything real nice that you
Right.
ride in there. Like
Because it's
your
going to be
bits.
shit in 6 months.
Like I've got a real nice set of spurs, and I've got some real nice bits that I use, but um yeah, that's another thing about the Buckaroo stuff is like, man, I'm not going to spend $8,000 on a saddle. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sure it's really, really nice. I know it's really nice, but it's not that much nicer than a $3,000 saddle.
Yeah. What was that guy a
It's
few years ago that was building all them wades and shit and acting like he was all Great Basin, all that, and then he ended up like frauding a bunch of people out of a shitload of
oh
money?
yeah, I heard about that. That's also been a good thing about Facebook is like those guys get exposed pretty quick. Like
Damn, what was that guy's name?
he was kind of back in your neck of the woods, wasn't he?
I don't remember. I thought he was I thought he was Colorado area, but maybe he wasn't.
Maybe what I don't know. There's been a lot of those guys. I don't know this guy in particular, but I remember the guy taking. Maybe it was who's the dude that does the Lonesome Lands blog?
He's from Iowa.
Mundorf.
Yeah.
He had a run in with that guy, I think.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to go back.
So then maybe that's where the Iowa came from.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to look it up because I kind of forgot about that deal till we were talking. I was like, wait a minute.
That Mundorf guy's got a really cool looking website, but all of his blogs kind of sound the same. Like he's kind of an RCAF guy, and you know that if you heard one RCAF argument, you've kind of heard them all.
Heard them all. Yeah.
I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're wrong at all. I'm just saying, but they get a little repetitive.
It's a pissing match between RCAF and Cattlemen's, and
yeah. Well, and NCBA's in the pocket of the Packers, and
right, exactly.
That's how that's going to be until somebody forces them to split up, which
they say they're not, but we know they are.
Well, yeah, they are, but now they've had I remember it wasn't, but like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe they had the first time they had a dairy guy as the president of the NCBA, and then that was kind of when you started seeing the influx of these crossbred calves. And honestly,
weird how that works, right?
I'm kind of surprised it took them this long to figure that part out. Honestly, like, because those if you want something that you talk about factory farmed, like there's an argument on some of those really big feedlots on the factory farming issue on beef side of things, but outside of the really big feedlots, but even still, those 90% of those cattle come from grass. But those crossbred dairy calves, they don't see a blade of grass except on a off chance that there's some weeds growing on the edge of an alley.
Shit, you ever turned a pin of those out on rye pasture?
No, I heard it's a fun time though.
Oh yeah, they're just confused as hell.
I bet. It was one of the weirdest things I ever saw this spring when we went over to the coast, and we got, like, I get why people move to California. I get it. That place is so goddamn beautiful.
Yeah.
And
the northern part,
that early spring, man, like all those hills just look like you just want to go put your bare feet in the grass, and then you just want to just like swing up on a horse bareback and go see what's over the next hill.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's like you turn real hippie real quick looking at that shit because you're like, God damn it, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I'd seen Holsteins out on grass, and it's insane how natural they looked too. I thought they wouldn't have looked natural seeing them, not in.
They look goofy as fuck.
No, and you're just like, I guess that's kind of what dairy cattle are supposed to look like, huh? It's and then you kind of rethink that whole factory farming thing. You're like, there's a point to that. There's a point that maybe we could kind of go back to maybe not confining them quite as much.
I know I'm late to it, but I just finished that The Lost Cowboy. And I think you had him on, didn't you?
Yeah, he's gonna be in Elko. I'm looking forward to drinking a beer with that guy in person. But, he's cool.
The whole Sweden deal, like, that just sounded just weird as fuck.
Europe is weird as fuck. That's the thing, is like Europe's fucking weird.
But damn, Australia sounded rank. Like,
I'm so jealous that I didn't get to go to Australia when I was a young buck,
No shit. Like, that just sounded wild.
It sounded awesome. I mean, it's like the same way I feel about the wagons, like I didn't know that shit was still around until I was already married with kids, and like now it's, unless I do it as like if I do it like the what's his name, John Langtree, you know,
Okay.
and go as a photographer, you know, just go as a podcaster or something rather than being
Yeah.
a part of the crew. That's about the only way I'm going to do it now.
Right. I'll go with you.
Unless my life just really goes to shit.
Unless the cocaine comes back and we're out of options.
Right. You know, it'd have to be like my wife and kids are out of the picture for good, and then maybe I can go get an actual wagon job. But unless that happens, and I don't want it to, I'm gonna have to go like as a halfway tourist. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have
ranch
to
it up.
I have to hope that I'm one of the handier tourists that year. You know.
Yeah. Straight dude ranch it.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, like I you know, like I said, I just didn't know that was even an option until it was kind of too late. And
right, I hear you.
It would
kind of the same here.
It'd have been fun as hell, and I mean, it always sounds like it's fun, but you don't see a whole lot of guys stick with it for very long either.
No.
I was like I was talking with TC the other day. I was like, you know, once you hit 35, you start seeing a lot of guys find jobs in town.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Like this whole cowboy thing is kind of short-lived for most.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the co-op more than anything, so
yeah,
kind of.
Well, like I've got the luxury of where I can still be horseback every day if I want to, but if I don't want to, I can usually kind of get away with it too.
You can delegate.
Yeah, or I can just, you know, I can take a really good look in the pickup and decide, yeah, that one's probably good till tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, this time of year, it gets kind of dicey because, you know, like you don't want to cripple a horse. You know, we're in that.
Yeah.
We got just enough moisture where the pins aren't shitty, but like around the bunk slab area, you know, where it always gets wet, you know, and then that shit freezes and whatnot. And you know, that's hard on a horse. Winter's just winter in the feedlot's hard on a horse anyways.
Winter in a feed yard sucks.
Yeah. So I just you get to be, especially the older you get, and the softer on your horses you tend to be. You're just like, I can get another pair of muck boots.
Oh.
You know, I'll go if I have to, I'll go walk that one out afoot and save my horse for another day, because there's always like, we're gonna get a big slug of calves at some point, and I'm gonna need my horses, so I'll save them until then.
I threw a pickup the other day. I was coming back from getting fuel on an open cab tractor, open station tractor, and my mustache was all froze to shit. And my buddy, he still rides daily, and he messaged back, you know, that I remember those, or I know what you feel, and his mustache was froze up too. And me and him worked a weekend. I mean, it's been a long 6-7 years ago, but it was like -20 something, you know, which I know them Montana guys hit -40, but we had water.
Stop listening to the Dakota and Montana guys. They only pipe up when it gets cold because they got nothing else.
But we worked, I remember a weekend, and I mean, it was, I think we were approaching -30, but I don't think we hit it. And they had a heated gator at that feed yard. And we kind of looked at each other that morning.
That's the death of a good cowboy.
we kind of looked at
real quick.
We kind of looked at each other. I mean, we were the only two there. I think there might have been one more person there, but like
the internal combustion engine has ruined more cowboys than Fence ever did.
And you know, I don't regret it one damn bit. So I'm pretty sure we rode around all pins that day and just gave her the old look and went from there.
Yeah. They keep talking about how the fencing in the West changed the open range cowboy, and it did, but that internal combustion engine changed way more shit than the fences did. Like the fences were going to go up one way or the other. It just happened somebody found barbed wire and it was cheap and effective.
But you know, I'll drive by another feed yard and I'll see somebody out there on a 4-wheeler, and I will just cuss and just
fucking farmer.
Yeah, fucking farmer, exactly.
I know it. I like talking shit on the farmers just to see just to see people get riled up, because it's kind of like, and I'm not a veteran, so I can't speak on this issue, but I love hearing like the veterans talk about when like when you get like those super arrogant veterans who's like, yeah, make sure you thank all me and my brothers for my service this Veterans Day. Now, that's how I feel when everybody starts posting about like, we're out here doing it every day because you ain't gonna do it. Thank a farmer. No, fuck off.
So I am a vet. So I am a vet. So I love those too. And I got a buddy that, man, we go back and forth on that shit. And then Jeremiah a lot too. I'll send him some shit. And
Jeremiah's a bad motherfucker. I'm just glad I'm friends with that guy. And we were talking. I was actually texting him today. I was asking his input on. Apparently, Pakistan and Iran are like bombing each other sporadically, and I'm like, what's this all about? You've been over in that neck of the wood, and it's just like, is that something we got to worry about too? Is that gonna? And we just got to talking, and he's just like, our whole military is just run by fucking morons, and I was like, that's kind of what I've gathered too.
So the first time I met Jeremiah, I was going to donate to a war party from one of my bull ridings, and he came out, and he was running a little late getting through Nebraska and all, and he got here. And I mean, we were in like the first set of bulls, so I was in the arena, shoot bossing. And he just walks up and he pulls a flask out of his pocket, and he's like, "You want some of this?" I'm like, "Man, we're right in the middle of perf." I put him in the back. He was pulling flanks off bulls and shit, put him to work, and hell, he worked all night and didn't complain a damn bit. And yeah, it was a good deal. Went to the bar with us afterwards. We had a hell of a time.
He's good shit. He's definitely a good guy to be buddies with. Like, shit goes down, he's a guy you want in your corner. That guy's seen some shit, and he handles himself just fine. Yeah,
we were going to the bar, and I walked up to his pickup, and there was no like steps on it. It's kind of a higher pickup.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, got to jump in this son of a bitch. And he's like, yeah, no fat chicks.
Was his wife with him on that deal, or did he get?
No, he didn't bring his wife on that one.
His wife's a badass too. She's cool as hell.
Yeah.
She's also you don't mess with her. She can handle her own.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. He's just a good dude. I really like Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Immaculate mustache, beard, whatever he's choosing to wear at the time. Like,
yeah, I know. I'm nowhere close.
I think his grows in by the second though. Like,
oh, I think so.
He's got a 5 o'clock shadow by 10 o'clock in the morning.
I forget what he said. That we were sitting around the trailer drinking that night, and somebody said something to him about it, and he said, damn, what did he say? I'm half native and Mexican. He's like, I was born with back hair. Something like that. It's fucking funny.
Yeah, because his dad was Mexican, his mom was Apache. And
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's a hoot. I like that guy. He's a good dude. He's doing good work. I always say like that's just a noble cause. I don't know how effective he is on it, but like it's a good cause, and I would support him 100% in it. It's just like I'd never even heard about that issue until him, and and you're like, oh, I'm glad somebody's out there trying to do something about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And and dude's capable as shit, and he's good at like gathering like-minded people too. I've met a lot of cool people through him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool dude.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we were talking today, and he's like, "There's no community anymore," and I was like, "Yeah, you kind of got to make community where you can," and that's why I kind of collect guys like that. It's like that if shit ever pops off, like, I'm gonna be the guy that makes sure they've got beef to eat, because they can fight a hell of a lot better than I can,
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like around here, like where I live, I've got like I mean, I've got a bunch of people that I know, but I've got like 2 good friends. But like outside of that, like the people I would call good friends, are very spread out. I mean, you know how cowboying is. Like,
Yeah.
you end up knowing people from 4 or 5 states away, but you can call them and damn, they'll probably show up if you need them.
I figure if it comes to where like we need to gather, like I'm going back to the plains because at least out there, you can see everybody coming from a long ways
See a
off.
long
But
damn way.
if it's like you gotta skedaddle and try to make it on your own, I'll stick to the hills. Like it's easier to hide in the hills.
Yeah.
But if it's coming to a showdown, let's go out to the plains where we can dig in and we can see everybody coming from a long way off.
I can see you 3 days away.
Mm-hmm. Right. After you passed my dog running away. That's
exactly.
when we're like, they're getting close.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try not to joke about that type of shit too much because I really I know it's if anything ever pops off, it's not gonna be pretty.
No, exactly.
But the thing is, the worst part is like there's not gonna be a good side to choose, I don't think, because whoever's clamoring for power is probably gonna be pretty authoritarian, and I'm anti that.
I bet
you're right. The guys that I agree with more often than not have a lot more guns than the people that I very rarely agree with. So
yeah,
I feel okay about my odds.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Like that's one thing where like I don't care what the right side of history is. I just know what the winning side will look like.
Exactly. And goddamn it, if I got a choice, I'm going to be on the winning side.
Right. Like yeah, I just know like I know like if things get real sketchy and like it's kind of everybody for themselves, I know I can make routine raiding parties into Reno and come away with a lot of shit. Like I'm not far from California. Like I can make a raid into Sacramento if I wanted to,
Right.
When it comes to that type of shit, but yeah, I always like well, I think your best case, especially like rural America, is just like you just head for the hills. Go full Mormon strategy.
Go fucking Mormon. Yeah, we're going fucking Mormon.
Burn everything behind you and head to the hills.
Right. Yeah.
Leave them nothing to take. Take your women, take your livestock, and burn everything to the ground.
Take everything with you, and there will be nothing left.
I feel like we're due for some raiding parties, though. Like that. I feel like we got away from that as humans, in the past 100 years or so. That used to be kind of commonplace. Where, I mean, like
we're
think Lonesome Dove, like be a good night to slip over into Mexico, cross some stock.
Well, we're kind of due for a societal collapse. Collapse, aren't we? Because every society lasts what's the years on that?
I think a great empire is right around 250 years. So like we're past that.
Yeah.
Or we're coming up on it, 26.
And we're in some weird fucking times. I mean, we've already covered that. So
yeah, it just gets weirder.
I mean, shit, we were talking about how weird 4 years ago were, and then
I just remember how weird it was that Donald fucking Trump won the presidency.
No shit.
And now I'm at the point where like he's honestly our best shot. Like he's honestly the best guy for it at the moment, and I hate to say it.
And that's a fucking problem. Like
you're just like, oh fuck. Yeah, I just like as much as I wish Thomas Massey was that guy, he's not. Like he just
right.
And like that's I mean like as much as I wish Ron Paul was permanent dictator, he's not.
He's not.
And,
so it would be cool.
It'd be cool. I mean, I'd be even okay with like one line of succession because Rand Paul is pretty all right. I don't know what his kids are like, so we'll have to talk when that comes to it. But Yeah, like if I was into monarchy, it'd be the Paul family.
Right. I could get down with that.
But that ain't the case. So, yeah, I look at it and like much, I'll probably end up voting libertarian.
I
But
will.
honestly, I honestly I think Trump's probably the best guy for it, regardless of the party. I think doesn't matter even unless the libertarians put up somebody like Ron Paul. Trump's
Right.
probably better than they are because he at least has a chance of winning. And he if you notice throughout his presidency, he did listen to Rand Paul quite a bit. Like Rand Paul had his ear on a lot of foreign policy stuff. So like
On a lot, yeah, but I don't know.
he
FBI
wasn't
got
great.
bigger.
He
Yeah.
wasn't great, but there was on some really important shit. He listened to Rand Paul, and so I was like,
I'd agree with that.
I'll hand him that. So I don't know. How do you think all this goes this year? Do you think we're gonna have a normal election?
I don't think so. I think we're fucking beyond the times of normal elections. I mean,
I wonder that too. So like we have the caucus coming up here. I think it's next week. I need to check. I honestly now I don't care that that Ramaswamy dropped out. That was who I was gonna throw my vote behind in the caucus. Now it doesn't matter. Like
right.
but also there's a primary and a caucus at the same time. So the legislature changed the law. I think it was in 2018. Maybe it was in no. I guess it'd been in 20 or 22. Which the legislature's all Democrat because it's all dominated by Las Vegas.
By Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, like 2/3 of the population's in Clark County. So, yeah, there's 17 counties in Nevada, and 2/3 of the population is in one county.
Right.
So, but they changed it to a primary state, which is pretty short-sighted. Honestly, I mean, like, extremely short-sighted, because Nevada gets a lot of attention. It's kind of like Iowa, where like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter that much, but it's a swing state, and they vote early on the primaries.
Yeah.
So they get a lot of attention. They actually passed the whole popular vote deal for the Electoral College. And it passed the House and the Senate, but our previous piece of shit governor, there was the one good move that he made. He vetoed it because he realized, like, hey, if we do this, we'll never get any presidential candidate ever visit the state again, because all they have to do is
because it's
win.
easy.
Yeah, you win California and New York, and you win the popular vote pretty much.
Right.
So, yeah, like it'd make Nevada nothing. Like they would never come here again. And and this was the governor we had during COVID, and he was a real piece of shit. But he vetoed that. Now they changed it to a primary system, kind of at the behest of the DNC. And it seems like it's to benefit Joe Biden, which I wonder, like, why is it so important that Joe Biden, of all people, remain in power? Like that.
That's fucking beyond me.
They've had so many off ramps to pass it off to somebody. I mean, like, just health in general. You could just be like, hey, I'm having some serious health issues, and I don't think I can lead the country effectively, and step aside. And and they could find some way to push Kamala out. I'm positive, you know. They just but for whatever reason, they are just sticking with Uncle Joe, and I don't get it.
It's fucking wild, because I mean, he can't even put together a coherent sentence.
I know, and he's at like 33% approval. And
who's approving?
Right. Oh, that's just coming from the pollsters who generally weight it heavily in favor of Democrats. And so and he's still only getting 33. You're like, God damn, dude, they really don't like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so I don't get it. I don't know. And unless the corruption just runs that deep that we can't let this guy back in or we're all going down.
And that's the thing too. Like, you ever just sit back and think, like, how fucking deep is the corruption? Like, how deep are we?
Well, the funny thing is, like, I don't think it matters if Trump gets back in anyways. He didn't do much the first time, so.
Right. I mean.
So I just don't know what. I mean, maybe somebody will go to jail, but I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it.
If you look at what Trump did, try to take him on the last time, it like kind of got his ass handed to him at every turn.
Yeah.
They didn't allow him to do much of anything his whole first term. He tried to pull out of Syria like 3 different times and
didn't work.
Yeah, his Secretary of Defense retired one time or resigned, and then they just lied to him the other time. They were like, "Oh yeah, we'll get out."
Yeah, we're leaving.
Oh yeah, totally, dude.
One more beer.
Totally. We got some stuff to finish up, but next week we'll be out. Promise.
It was that whole after this beer deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's wild. So I don't know. I think this the stuff with Texas is going to be pretty interesting because you've got the Border Patrol telling Texas to stop enforcing the border. Like, hey, you can't do that. That's our job. And Texas is like, but you're not doing it, so we're going to do it. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I know. It's another pissing match. Just yet another one to add to the mini.
How strong you think Greg Abbott's piss stream is? You think does it work or does it just go into a bag?
I think we're talking bags here because
I think so. I bet he doesn't have a strong stream. I don't know.
I
don't know if he can control it.
I'm afraid that might be correct.
How's his fastball, you think? Because if he's got a good fastball, you could huck a piss bag pretty far.
I mean, I'd be more afraid of the colostomy bag. So.
Fair enough. Let's come back to that. I got to pee one more time. Let's call it good for the main session. We'll come back we'll do a little Patreon bonus.
All right.
We'll get into how far you can throw a colostomy bag.
All right, deal. They're going to come back for that.
Yeah. You got anything you want the guys to follow and anything like that you want to promote?
I mean, just Rhino on Instagram, and that's kind of about it. I still put on some bull ridings and stuff. If anybody's looking for a subpar bull riding, I got you. Just let me know.
Perfect. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, on that note, thanks for tuning in. Go give them a follow on Instagram and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Is just a gather and you won't catch 'em all, but when you ride through the gate make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the south, hell of a job's done right.